Alright, what's going on everybody? Welcome back to another video here on the channel, and today, obviously, this is a pretty sensitive subject, a pretty sensitive topic, right? It's one that honestly I just wanted to avoid talking about at all, because, I covered a lot of the Ukraine situation when that all really first started developing, and we've kind of seen how that went, right? I mean, it wasn't the couple-day operation that Russia claimed that they wanted it to be. It's now been dragged out into a full-scale war for years now, and hundreds of thousands of people have died, been injured, millions of people have been displaced. It's tragic. It's not fun to talk about. It's not something that honestly I want to sit here and talk about. But I saw something, and I've been seeing a couple of different things happen really, and it couldn't be more obvious what really is taking place here. And it kind of pisses me off, honestly, because as an American, a young American man, I should say, right? I've lived here my whole life, and I mean my family, we've lived here my whole life, everything obviously, right? And I'm still at that time in my life where my grandfather is alive. Well, one of the two grandfathers that this applies to are still alive, right? So both of my grandfathers served in Vietnam, which is one of the most controversial wars probably in modern history, right? And pretty much rightfully so. There really wasn't very many good justifications for the US to actually even be involved in that war, much less have a prolonged conflict there. And the atrocities that happened there and the things that both of my grandfathers had to endure really in the midst of war, it's fucking disgusting. It's tragic. In fact, one of my grandfather who passed away, his service in Vietnam ended up giving him Agent Orange exposure, which later gave him cancer, which contributed to his death. So war, it's fucked up. It's not something fun to talk about. It's not something that people want to sit around and talk about. But when I see sitting US senators and active politicians in the federal government literally openly calling for pretty much war crimes, calling for essentially the US to get involved in these conflicts, and very clearly have no sort of stance against America being militarily involved in something like this, it's not only kind of scary and panicking, but it pisses me off because, like I just told you, I mean, both of my grandpas served in Vietnam. One was drafted, one volunteered. And obviously, since then, the US has been in several other conflicts, most notably the War on Terror, the invasion of Iraq and Afghanistan, Desert Storm before that, right? But it seems like every generation, America finds some sort of war, some sort of cause, quote unquote, to not only sink all of its money into, but also to sink thousands of its men's lives into. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show you this clip. This is coming from Senator Lindsey Graham, who represents South Carolina. And according to Lindsey here, we are in a religious war with Hamas. And that means that the Gaza Strip should, quote unquote, be leveled. So
we're in a religious war here. I am with Israel. Do whatever the hell you have to do to defend yourself. Level the place.
All right, so notice this here, okay? Mr. Graham says, we're in a religious war. Now, last time that I checked, and I'm checking my GPS right now, and it says that I'm sitting here in the United States of America. And last time I checked, this is not where this fucking conflict is going on at. And last time I checked, we're not at war, okay? I'm not in any sort of war. I'm not in any fucking religious war. Now, obviously, what happened is tragic. What happened in Israel and what is now, as a result, is going to happen in the entire region, it's devastating and it's sad. I mean, these are tensions that have existed for decades. These are politics that have, went back decades, essentially. Both sides have committed horrible atrocities against one another throughout this whole time. But ultimately, Hamas they committed a surprise attack against Israel. I mean, they glided into the country, they crossed the border, they killed hundreds of civilians, they captured, God knows how many fucking hostages, they killed civilians of Israel, they killed foreigners who were just in the area, they held no regards for who they killed. They went through the streets and massacred people. These are not fucking heroes. These people are not freedom fighters. They're not fighting for a free Palestine. And once again, both sides have done fucked up shit, but ultimately, Hamas went here and killed hundreds of fucking people, and now as a result, thousands more have been killed, including 1,500 Hamas fighters in Israel, over 1,000 Israelis, like 1,000 Palestinians. I think over 20 Americans have been confirmed killed in the entire fucking onslaught at this point, right? It's tragic for the whole world. This has nothing to do, like, the fact that people can't see the nuance in situations like this is what's insane to me. And that's what really is just mind-blowing about these comments in particular. Well, you gotta do whatever you can to defend yourself. Just fucking level the place. The Gaza Strip is one of the most densely populated areas on the planet, and like 2 million Palestinians live in the Gaza Strip. Now, obviously, not all 2 million of these Palestinians either support or were carrying out the attacks that Hamas did. Now, some people there do support Hamas. There's a decent amount of support there, but obviously not everyone, right? So the idea that you just go through there and just level the whole fucking place with no regards for the innocent lives that would be taken. To even suggest as a sitting legislator in the most powerful government on the planet, to even suggest that that be an option is fucking disgusting. And that's coming as somebody who, I mean, obviously, Israel does have a right to defend themselves. I'm not here to say that Israel can't do that, right? It makes sense that they want to take out Hamas and they want to eliminate that threat, right? That makes sense. I mean, Hamas is a group that existentially stands as a group to permanently erase the state of Israel. I mean, they're existential threats to one another. It makes sense that this conflict is between them, but there are children, women, innocent men in the Gaza Strip that are not involved that are gonna die as a consequence. And to pretend like their lives don't matter and that they should just be cannon fodder for Israel's retaliation, it's fucking insane that people actually think that way. I mean, what happened to people's humanity, right? Like, what happened to people being like, I don't want people to die unnecessarily? It doesn't matter what side you're on. You know, I don't give a fuck if you're Palestinian or if you're Israeli or if you're American or what. It doesn't matter. Like, the idea that now Israel is going through and retaliating for these attacks, and as a result, thousands of innocent people will probably die, is a tragedy. It should be considered a tragedy. It should not be considered just, oh, well, that's what happens, you know, that's what happens. Like, these are innocent people. There's a lot of innocent people, and of course, a lot of people who are getting killed by the Israeli military at this point. I mean, like the numbers suggest, 1,500 Hamas fighters, okay? It's a serious, complicated situation. But we have people in government who are actively making the statement that we are in a religious war. Obviously, that is not true. Israel, they're in a religious war. Hamas, they're in a religious war. Iran, all these other powers in the Middle East and whatnot, they're in a religious war with one another. I am not an Israeli citizen, okay? None of us here are Israeli. I mean, obviously, besides the people who came from Israel, but like the vast majority of us, this does not have any effect on us. And that may sound cold, that may sound fucked up, but the truth of the matter is, America has already done so much for Israel. The Iron Dome project that they have that helps prevent a lot of this rocket fire has come a lot of the way through U.S. support. Since 1999, since the Memorandum of Understanding was established between the U.S. and Israel, the U.S. has given hundreds of billions of total dollars in aid to Israel to help their military. And this is annual funding too. We're giving like $3 billion a year for military funding and yada, yada, yada. They have gotten enough. We have done enough. America cannot continue to be the beacons of fighting everything in the world. I mean, at this point in time, if you think about it, right, we're not only fighting the war in Ukraine, but we're also fighting the war in Israel because of all the military support we've given them. Obviously, we're going to give both of these nations more support militarily, right? We're going to be giving them a lot more. Israel's going to get more money from us. I mean, Congress is definitely going to pass through some aid. They're going to fucking fund some more of this war. But the thing is, and I think a lot of American civilians feel this way, right? Like, obviously, the people in Israel, they have to make a stand here. They have to protect themselves. You know, this is something that's important, right? But we can't be the ones who do it for everybody in the world, and we can't constantly continue to put these situations above our own. I mean, America as a country, our healthcare fucking sucks. Our infrastructure has been crumbling for decades, and we're only now starting to address it. Inflation's getting out of control. The economy is on the border of spiraling the fuck out of control. The housing market sucks. Americans are worried about crime and homelessness and poverty here, but we can't fund any of that shit. We can't work on any of these issues here, but hey, guess what? Some more war in the Middle East needs to get fought. And people like Lindsey Graham and these other senators that are saying this shit in Congress right now, they would have no problem supporting putting American boots on the ground. And then I want to play this clip also of Lindsey Graham where he is openly calling for the West to strike Iran militarily for every hostage that is killed by Hamas. No, I'm not kidding.
For every Israeli or American hostage executed by Hamas, we should take down an Iranian oil refinery. The only way you're going to keep this war from escalating is to hold Iran accountable. How much more death and destruction do we have to take from the Iranian regime? I am confident this was planned and funded by the Iranians. Hamas is a bunch of animals who deserve to be treated like animals. So if I was Israel, I would go in on the ground. There is no truce to be had here. I would dismantle Hamas. This is the best opportunity Israel has to destroy Hamas. Take it to the Iranians. If you harm one American in Syria by using your Iranian militia against us in Syria, if you escalate the war by urging Hezbollah to attack Israel in the north, if Hamas kills one American or Israeli hostage, we're going to blow up your oil refineries and put you out of business. It is now time to take the war to the Ayatollah's backyard.
Now, I understand the sentiment, like, anytime that an American is killed by Hamas or an Israeli is killed by Hamas, we should do something about it to send a message. I get that. But let's think about this more than 4 seconds ahead of time here, and let's see what the grand fucking scheme of things would happen if that were to happen. So let's say, hypothetically, Hamas were to kill an American hostage, okay? And we took Lindsey Graham's advice, and the U.S. put a missile in a fucking Iranian oil refinery and killed 80 or 90 of them, took out a fucking huge refinery, right? Do you think that Iran, which is supported by China, which is supported by North Korea, which is supported by Syria and these other fucking terrorists, Hamas and all them in the area over here in Israel, Russia, do you think that they're just gonna sit back like, oh golly gee, please blow us up, blow our shit up, commit a literal military strike on our country? Yeah, that's what's gonna fix this whole fucking thing. We should start another war in another Middle Eastern country. We should go to war with a country that is attempting to become a nuclear state and that is backed by all of our enemies. You know, we should commit a retaliatory strike that has a non-0% chance to start a nuclear World War III. That's a pretty good fucking idea. Now, when you hear this idiot say something like this, you start to realize that it makes sense that Lindsey Graham has been one of the biggest vocal supporters for America getting involved in pretty much every conflict possible throughout his entire time in office. It's now time to take the war to the Ayatollah's backyard. Now, of course, then let's think of it this way, right? Let's flip the fucking script, okay? Let's say, and by the way, this is something that happens and you see how everybody reacts when this happens, but let's say the Iranian parliament was chanting something like, let's invade America, or let's attack America, or death to America. How do you think that would go over here in the US? Oh wait, it happened recently, and all of these same people who are now calling for war there and saying we should take the war to the Ayatollah's backyard, they were saying, how much many more threats can we take from these terrorists? They're an existential threat, they want to kill us all. And like, yeah, them chanting death to America is very telling and it's fucking insane. And they are our enemy, but that doesn't mean we should fucking provocate an open war with them. I'm confident we would defeat Iran in a military conflict. I mean, our military is way larger. We have way more allies. We have way better technology and weaponry. We have way better logistics. We have way better supply, everything, right? But why do we need for this generation of Americans to spend thousands of their lives dying in these fucking Middle Eastern wars that have nothing to do with our home territory, right? And I mean, let's just address this too. The more we continue to escalate these things in the Middle East, the more the US tries to fucking get into these wars and bomb people and shit, the more terrorists we're actually creating. I think people forget that too. A lot of these terrorist organizations are manned by people who at this point grew up or in the last few decades have spent their lives watching the US rain fucking missiles and bombs and gunshots all over their home countries. I mean, we've been occupying the Middle East for like half a century in some way or another, fucking with every government there. Occupying and nation building, failing to do so, by the way, everywhere there. Why would they view us as some sort of helpers or like people who aren't trying to escalate? Like, we need to stop getting into these situations and wondering why we're creating more of them. I mean, fuck. Can the children starving in the US today get fed, you know? Can the fucking homeless veterans that Lindsey Graham and all these other people claim to care about so much, can they get a fucking roof put over their head tonight or get a blanket to sleep with? Can my little cousins get fucking textbooks that aren't 25 years old in their school, you know what I mean? Can I drive on a highway that isn't about to fucking collapse when I'm crossing the river or whatever? I don't know, like, these issues are just so commonplace in America and, we don't have funding for that. You know, we can't fix that one. We can't find any money for that, man. But you got these senators who make all the fucking laws and make all the rules, openly calling for war with our enemies over a geopolitical situation that happened 3,000 miles away from us. So pretty awesome time to be a young American male who was forced to sign the selective service paperwork to do pretty much anything in this country. It's really scary, honestly, as an American man now, to think like in the next 10 years, there is a lot larger chance than I'm really willing to be comfortable with, that I'm gonna die in a fucking Taiwanese fucking hillside somewhere from a CCP artillery round, or some Hamas terrorist is gonna kidnap my fucking regiment and behead us on TV. Like, these things are definitely non-zero for men my age at this point, man. Like, we're really teetering on the line, it feels like, to a much larger clusterfuck situation we shouldn't be involved in. But anyway, with that being said, thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're brand new around here on the channel, follow me over on Twitter and Twitch at SubTheOptimus. Make sure to check out Shoptimus down below. Thank you to my Watch Optimus subscribers. Your support helps the channel tremendously. And until my next video, guys, this is Optimus, well, not wanting to die in a field somewhere across the planet for oil and geopolitical issues, and signing out.